to Merkel's definition that Ginter addressed in his talk, Information Theoretic. And with respect to consciousness, I think in taking on a project like this, it necessarily has to be a materialistic one, like Darwin's the product of complexity of organization, and it's most likely localized in very specific places of the brain: the brainstem reticular formation, intralaminar nuclei, thalamus, and basal neuromodulatory nuclei. So why would anyone want to do this? To preserve people's life lessons, you know, every time someone dies, the lessons that they've learned over the course of their century of life, outside of the handful of people that were closest to them, is lost in most likely the next century. The atrocities of history are accordingly diluted, most likely. So this is kind of a way of preserving people's life lessons. It could also be seen as a continuation of our basic survival and reproduction instincts. And I'll address this at the end, but there's really no biological logic supporting that. There's definitely causes, but there's no real logic for it. The impetus is also a humanistic one for these reasons. Okay, so we came up with the term of mind file for these sort of digital archives of people's personalities that we were going to seek and replicate. What could be the uses for these mind files in different time scales? Well, in the most immediate sense, they could be thought of as digital time capsules. After you pass away, there would be something left for future generations to learn from, your friends, family, and you know, researchers looking back at the past. Also, an immediate kind of application of this could be for Alzheimer's patients right now. Someone that's affected by Alzheimer's, or if we sort of marketed this towards the Zoomers, and they began this before the onset of Alzheimer's, then this could be a way of sort of relearning about themselves. If SENS was successful after the onset of Alzheimer's, then this could also be an application for Alzheimer's patients at that time. Looking even further into the future, it could be a way for post-cryo reanimated people to learn back about themselves, and if all of these efforts at machine consciousness might possibly be successful, then even these archives could be reanimated. So I wouldn't say that we view this as an alternative to SENS and cryonics. It's more of an augmentation. So how would we try and do something like this? Well, when we looked at the kind of industry standard for personality capture and analyzing personalities, it's really all through language. We decided that, and also thinking about that we wanted to make this available to the masses, not just to a select few that could afford to do something like this. And possibly implement it through the internet, that through language would be the most ideal approach. So what did we actually do? We we created a strategic plan with some deliverables. In October of 2007, we launched a beta of our system and put that out to the world, and have made some revisions, and the final version will be launched at the end of this year. Phase 2, we plan to do some quantitative testing using consciousness metrics, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. And then Phase 3, implementation of biometric sensors, projected for later next year. So in terms of a sort of macroscopic view of the architecture, what we decided was to kind of take a number of different kinds of data and feed them all into a learning conversational engine. We recruited Rollo Carpenter here from the UK. His company iCogno, to sort of handle the learning conversational end of things. We created a system for allowing users to upload biographical information that are richly tagged so that they'd be highly searchable. We found a number of validated personality tests that were in the public domain, and created a system for inputting personal information. The current conversational engine was also able to quote-unquote learn from just conversations that you have with it. So all this based on language. Above this dotted line is what we kind of are considering the mind file, the collection, the personal digital archive. And then we recruited Televirtual, also here from the UK, to create a photo-generating, photo-based avatar pipeline. So we came up with a front-end architecture that kind of made sense of all these different things that we wanted to do, and hired a database designer to make a interrelational MySQL database to accommodate this. We found several different validated personality tests. And there are many more out there. This is just sort of a start of what's implemented right now. The Big Five, the International Personality Item Pool, Perceived Stress Scale, and Social Network Index. And then in sort of the interest of trying to catalyze the creation of these, what we call mind files, we thought that we really needed to have a fun and accessible, user-friendly interface that would allow us to have a pretty good sample set. So we used Google's Google Maps API engine and created an upload page with 7 different tag fields, so that when people upload this biographical information, they can enter all this these different tags and be able to filter their files at a later date, or an artificial agent could at a later time. We created a File Explorer, what we call the File Explorer page, which is basically sort of like your desktop, a place where you can reorganize your files, edit them, change the tags, view them. We also took advantage of the open source Google Finance API and created what we call the timeline page, which organizes everything that you've uploaded according to the timeline of your life. And the interval can be changed, and you can do all kinds of things with that. And then finally, this avatar page, which is the machine